"Squad, stand ready," the sergeant barked as his men stomped their feet in attention. How did it come to this? How did they beat our armies so badly? I understand my discontent with the Eldari Imperium over the centuries. But how did it get this bad? How was it so easy for them to do it? One last question remained in my head. "Ready rifles," the sergeant barked again. The 10 men at his command prepared their single-shot bolt-action weapons to fire, in perfect synchronization as they loaded a single cyanide-laced bullet. It was typical fare. The Eldari Imperium would search the stars for other life forms, and when we found them, we would open portals to their worlds. We found humanity, and within weeks we were ready for the first assault. The first portal opened, and a legion of 5,000 men marched through it, massacring a large city with impunity. "Front rank, kneel," the sergeant barked again, and the 5 men in front dropped to one knee. The first city fell, limited to no resistance as it seemed somewhat unpopulated. Either that or the humans had the means to rapidly evacuate. Either way, only a few thousand dead or captured. The second portal opened. 2 legions of us this time. The second city fell with limited effort, and we noted this time how it was mostly evacuated, protected by a limited security force. Though we faced casualties, it was negligible at best. "Present arms," the sergeant ordered, and the 10 men raised their weapons at the Elf King, my former master, High King Terius VII. At the time we thought humanity was minimal at best, a staggeringly low force of only a few million souls present on that world. A newly minted backwater species on a new planet. We thought them a simple-minded animal with limited capability. How wrong we were. We offered them surrender. In exchange for their lives, we offered them slavery of servitude. At the time, it would have been an easy way out. "Take aim." 10 rifles moved in unison, half aimed at the High King's head, the other at his chest. A surprise to say the very least, but we thought nothing of it. We brought in via 6 more portals, 10 legions more to reinforce our position. That was a military force of 100,000 men, beasts and mages. Humanity's retaliation was beyond merciless. Flying machines with bladed rotating wings flew overhead and obliterated an entire legion in the space of moments. Our mages cast their heat metal spells as they always did. Heat metal was a mage's most potent spell, and it caused enemies to boil in their armor or drop their weapons. This time it did nothing. "Fire!" the sergeant ordered, and a volley of shot rang out. The High King slumped against the ropes that held him to the post as a splatter of blood and wood splinters impacted the wall behind him. Human snipers picked off officers from miles beyond the combat zone, sending our forces into a mass panic as their commanders' heads suddenly exploded. Human armored beasts known as tanks rolled onto the battlefield and delivered explosives right into the midst of our armies from far beyond the range of any mage's spells. Shield wall spell, groundlock spells, any spell would simply dissipate or be worthless against a torrent of steel. Within a few hours, 10 legions lay in ruins. Whatever commanders or mages failed to be killed in the fighting were captured and mercilessly tortured until they revealed to the humans everything. "Next prisoner," the sergeant barked as the High King's corpse was removed. A new post put in place and a sniveling, begging Ratkin diplomat stood for his punishment. I was the only survivor of this war. My men and I saw the massive devastation firsthand and wondered what kind of hell awaited. As Humanity First tanks drove through our lines, I ordered my men to drop their weapons and hold their hands up. Any who refused were mercilessly cut down by advancing tanks. We were surrounded in moments. Heat metal spells and various others harmlessly dissipated on their hulls and their tanks marched ever onward. "Squad, stand ready." The sergeant barked above the desperate cries of the Ratkin man. I could no longer take it and left the area, returning to the cafeteria where the last legion of the Eldari were holed up, having officially joined the human military. It was strange seeing Ratkin, beastmen and elves working alongside humans. One such elf mage, now wearing a pilot's flight suit, was showing off at a dining table with a few others as she made a perfect pitcher of coffee with a snap of her fingers, effortlessly levitating filled cups to delighted recipients. I went into the administration building and spoke to my fellow general. A human, Martin Colin, I spoke somewhat weakly. Oh, good morning, Drusius. There an issue? He asked, the delighted man in his mid-50s smiling at me. I have a question or two. Care to answer them? Sure. He gestured to the seat in front of his desk. How did you beat us so easily? Heat metal spells. How did heat metal spells not work? Before you we could easily disarm entire regiments or scorch men in their armor. Why did you not suffer the same fate? Heat metal, He fumbled about and found a manuscript I gave him, then another, more modern-looking book. He looked at it for a bit more. Here it is. Our ships and planes are made of a combination of a polycarbonate ceramic alloy, known as carbolite, vexillon, strontium, and regicite. These are not metals. They are synthetic polycarbonate ceramic alloys designed to be resistant to temperatures of any kind. Space-age alloys. Meant for starships. No metal, no heat. It can't be that simple, I said, frowning darkly. Nope. Magic may be magic, but it does not change the facts. It's still subject to the laws of physics. If you have a spell that casts a ball of fire and you do so against an object that is immune to fire, well, what exactly did that do? He said while looking over his notes. I just grumbled in response. If you have a spell that heats metals or other objects, but you do so against an object that can withstand temperatures at or above the surface of a star, what exactly did you do? Titanium, tungsten, steel, all suffer the trappings of a well-placed spell. A polycarbonate ceramic alloy made for starships. Not so much. I again grumbled in response. If you had caught us about 100 years ago, you would have caused serious damage. We would still have one, but you would have caused severe enough injury we would have called it a draw at the very least. But now, he chuckled. I just shook my head in disappointment. 100 years ago your shields would have deflected our standard bullets. But now we have railgun slugs that can accelerate a projectile to 0.02% the speed of light. No shield can withstand that, can it? What level of concentration can your mages produce that can stop a projectile that has the equivalent force of 500 tons of explosives? An alloy specifically designed to be immune to heat and cold, facing off against spells designed to heat or cool. Think about it. Can you heat an object that can only be frozen? Can you cool an object that can only be hot? I'm afraid it is that simple. He smiled at me. I raised my head, slumped in the chair and frowned. Wait, did you say starships? I did. He moved over to the window and showed me. The sight floored me. It was a ship, a massive ship at least a mile in length, quietly hovering above the world. You didn't honestly think this was our only world, did you? I passed out right there.